The Last Sunset on Hill Street. Will you survive until dawn? Scary Story is published by Scarefaction. Chapter 1. Introduction to Hill Street. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows over the quaint town of Hill Street. Nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, it seemed to hold its secrets close, its narrow streets winding like a labyrinth through the heart of the countryside. But despite its picturesque facade, Hill Street was known for more than just its scenic beauty. It was a place steeped in eerie history and whispered tales of mysterious disappearances that had haunted its residents for generations. As the evening settled in, a lone figure made her way through the quiet streets, her footsteps echoing softly against the cobblestones. Maya Hartley was a woman of determination and skepticism, her sharp eyes and quick wit serving her well in her career as a journalist. She had heard the rumors surrounding Hill Street, tales of ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena that had captured the imaginations of thrill seekers and skeptics alike. And now, as she stood at the edge of town, her curiosity piqued. She couldn't resist the pull of the unknown that beckoned her forward. With her camera slung over her shoulder and a notebook clutched in her hand, Maya took her first steps into Hill Street, her senses alive with anticipation. The air was thick with the scent of pine and earth, a faint chill creeping into the night as the sun dipped below the horizon. But despite the eerie stillness that hung in the air, Maya felt a surge of excitement coursing through her veins. This was her chance to uncover the truth behind the legends that had made Hill Street infamous, to separate fact from fiction and uncover the secrets hidden within its shadowy depths. As Maya wandered deeper into town, she couldn't help but be struck by the sense of history that permeated every corner. The buildings were weathered and worn, their facades bearing the scars of time and neglect. Yet there was a beauty to them, a timeless elegance that spoke of a bygone era long forgotten. And as Maya passed by the faded storefronts and crumbling alleyways, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, that unseen eyes followed her every move from the shadows. But Maya was undeterred. She had come to Hill Street with a purpose, and she wouldn't let a few ghost stories scare her away. With each passing moment, her determination only grew stronger, her resolve steeling against the unknown that lay ahead. For she knew that beneath the surface of Hill Street, beneath the layers of myth and legend, there lay a truth waiting to be uncovered. And she would be the one to find it, no matter the cost. As the last rays of sunlight faded from the sky and the first stars began to twinkle overhead, Maya paused at the edge of town, her gaze fixed on the horizon. In the distance, she could see the silhouette of an old manor looming against the darkening sky, its turrets and spires standing like silent sentinels against the encroaching night. It was a sight that a shiver down inside her soul, yet Maya couldn't help but feel drawn to it, as if it held the key to unlocking the mysteries of Hill Street once and for all. With a sense of determination burning in her heart, Maya set off towards the manor, her footsteps echoing in the stillness of the night. The journey ahead would be long and fraught with danger, but Maya knew that she was ready. Ready to face whatever darkness awaited her in the shadows of Hill Street, ready to uncover the truth that had eluded so many before her. And as she disappeared into the darkness, the town of Hill Street seemed to hold its breath, as if bracing itself for the storm that was about to descend. Chapter 2. The Haunted Manor. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a pale glow over the abandoned manor that loomed on the outskirts of Hill Street. Its once grand facade was now weathered and worn, its windows shattered and its doors hanging from their hinges. Ivy crept up the crumbling walls, weaving a tangled web of greenery that seemed to swallow the building whole. But despite its dilapidated appearance, the manor exuded an air of eerie grandeur, as if it still held the secrets of its past within its decaying walls. Maya, stood at the foot of the grand staircase, her heart pounding in her chest as she gazed up a looming structure before her. She had heard the rumors surrounding the manor, tales of ghostly apparitions and restless spirits that roamed its halls. But Maya was undeterred. With her camera in hand and her nerves of steel, she was determined to uncover the truth behind the legends that had made the manor infamous. With a deep breath, Maya stepped through the broken doorway and into the darkness beyond. The air was thick with dust and decay, the sound of her footsteps echoing through the empty halls. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling like gossamer threads, catching the faint light that filtered in through the broken windows. And as Maya ventured deeper into the manor, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, that unseen eyes followed her every move from the shadows. But Maya pressed on, her curiosity driving her forward, despite the creeping sense of unease that gnawed at her insides. She moved from room to room, her camera clicking away as she captured images of the manor's crumbling interior. Each step brought her closer to the truth, closer to uncovering the secrets that lay hidden within the manor's walls. As Maya explored further, she began to notice strange phenomena occurring around her. Objects seemed to move of their own accord. Doors slammed shut behind her, and strange whispers echoed through the empty halls. Yet, despite the growing sense of dread that settled in the pit of her stomach, Maya refused to be deterred. She had come too far to turn back now, too determined to let fear dictate her actions. But as the night wore on and the darkness closed in around her, Maya began to realize that she was not alone in the manor. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, fleeting glimpses of figures that vanished as quickly as they appeared. And with each passing moment, the whispers grew louder, their voices echoing with malice and despair. Suddenly, Maya felt a chill run down her soul as a cold breeze swept through the room. She turned to see a figure standing in the doorway, its features shrouded in darkness. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as Maya stared into the abyss, her heart hammering in her chest. But then, with a flicker of movement, the figure vanished into the shadows, leaving Maya alone in the darkness once more. And as she stood there, her breath coming in ragged gasps, Maya realized that the manor held more than just ghostly apparitions within its walls. It held the key to unlocking the truth behind the mysteries of Hill Street, a truth that Maya was determined to uncover, no matter the cost. Chapter 3: The Warning. The first light of dawn broke over the horizon, casting a soft glow over the sleepy town of Hill Street. Maya stepped out onto the quiet streets, the events of the previous night still fresh in her mind. The haunted manor had left her shaken, its echoes lingering in her thoughts like a haunting melody. But despite the lingering unease, Maya was determined to press on with her investigation, to uncover the truth behind the mysteries that plagued Hill Street. As Maya made her way through the town square, she noticed a figure sitting on a bench beneath the shade of an old oak tree. His face was weathered and worn, his eyes wise beyond his years. Maya approached cautiously, her curiosity piqued by the sight of the old man who seemed to watch over the town like a silent sentinel. "Good morning," Maya greeted him, offering a polite nod. The old man looked up, his gaze piercing through Maya with an intensity that sent a shiver in her soul. "Morning, miss," he replied, his voice gruff yet tinged with a hint of warmth. "You're new around here, aren't you?" Maya nodded, taking a seat beside him on the bench. "Yes, I arrived yesterday," she admitted. "I'm here to investigate the rumors surrounding Hill Street." The old man regarded her for a moment, his expression unreadable. Then, with a sigh, he spoke. "You do well to leave this place, miss, before it's too late." Maya frowned, taken aback by his warning. "What do you mean?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. The old man leaned in closer, his voice low and grave. "Hill Street is not what it seems," he said, his words weighted with a sense of foreboding. It's a place of darkness and despair, where the shadows hold, best left undisturbed. Maya felt a chill run in her soul at his words. What kind of secrets? She pressed. Her interest piqued despite the growing sense of unease that settled in the pit of her stomach. The old man shook his head, a grim expression crossing his weathered features. Tales of tragedy and loss, he murmured. Of souls trapped between the worlds of the living and the dead. You'd do well to heed the warnings of the townsfolk, miss, and leave Hill Street before it claims you too. Maya's heart pounded in her chest as she listened to the old man's words. His warning struck a chord within her, resonating with the fear and uncertainty that had been building inside her since she arrived in Hill Street. But despite the old man's ominous tales, Maya was determined to uncover the truth behind the mysteries that plagued the town, no matter the cost. With a nod of thanks to the old man, Maya rose from the bench and continued on her way, her resolve strengthened by the encounter. She knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger, but she was determined to press on, to uncover the truth behind the secrets of Hill Street, no matter what it took. For Maya Hartley was not one to back down from a challenge, especially when the fate of an entire town hung in the balance. Chapter 4: The Midnight Ritual. The full moon hung high in the night sky, casting an ethereal glow over the deserted town square of Hill Street. Maya stood hidden in the shadows, her camera poised and ready as she watched with bated breath. She had heard whispers of a midnight ritual rumored to take place under the cover of darkness, and tonight she was determined to capture it on film. As the clock struck midnight, a group of cloaked figures emerged from the darkness, their movements slow and deliberate as they gathered in a circle at the center of the square. Maya's heart raced with anticipation as she focused her camera lens, capturing every detail of the mysterious ceremony unfolding before her eyes. The figures began to chant in a language Maya did not recognize, their voices low and rhythmic as they raised their hands towards the sky. Strange symbols adorned the ground beneath their feet, glowing faintly in the moonlight as they danced to an unseen rhythm. Maya held her breath as she snapped photo after photo, her fingers trembling with excitement as she captured evidence of the ritual taking place before her eyes. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the key to unlocking the secrets of Hill Street once and for all. But as Maya continued to photograph the ritual, her presence was suddenly discovered. One of the cloaked figures turned towards her, their eyes locking with hers in a silent stare. Maya's heart skipped a beat as she realized she had been caught, her cover blown by her own eagerness to uncover the truth. With a cry of alarm, Maya turned and fled into the darkness, her footsteps echoing through the empty streets as she raced to escape the pursuing figures. The hooded figures gave chase, their footsteps closed behind as Maya darted down alleyways and through narrow passageways in a desperate bid for freedom. The night seemed to stretch on forever as Maya ran, her breath coming in ragged gasps as she pushed herself to the brink of exhaustion. But no matter how fast she ran, the figures were always hot on her heels, their presence a constant reminder of the danger that lurked in the shadows. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, Maya spotted a narrow alleyway up ahead, its entrance hidden from view by a tangle of overhanging vines. With a burst of adrenaline, she veered off course and ducked into the alley, her heart pounding in her chest as she pressed herself against the cold stone wall. The figures raced past, their footsteps fading into the distance as Maya breathed a sigh of relief. She had narrowly escaped capture, but she knew that her ordeal was far from over. The ritual she had witnessed was just the beginning, a glimpse into the dark forces that lurked beneath the surface of Hill Street. As Maya emerged from the shadows and made her way back to her hotel, her mind raced with questions and possibilities. What secrets did the ritual hold? And what did it mean for the fate of Hill Street and its residents. With each passing moment, Maya felt the weight of the town's mysteries pressing down upon her, urging her to uncover the truth before it was too late. Chapter 5. The Enigmatic Stranger. The moon hung low in the sky, casting its silvery light over the deserted streets of Hill Street. Maya wandered through the quiet town, her thoughts consumed by the events of the past few days. The encounter with the hooded figures had left her shaken, her nerves on edge as she grappled with the mysteries that seemed to lurk around every corner. Lost in thought, Maya nearly stumbled over a figure standing in the middle of the street. She looked up to see a man watching her with curious eyes, his features obscured by the shadows of the night. Maya took a step back, her heart pounding in her chest as she studied the stranger before her. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice tinged with a mixture of fear and suspicion. The man stepped forward, his movements graceful and fluid as he approached Maya with a reassuring smile. "My name is Elias," he said, his voice soft and melodious. "I couldn't help but notice that you seem lost, my dear. Perhaps I can be of assistance." Maya regarded Elias warily, her instincts warning her to be cautious of this enigmatic stranger. But there was something about him that drew her in, a sense of mystery and intrigue that piqued her curiosity despite her reservations. "What do you know about Hill Street?" Maya asked, her voice betraying her uncertainty. Elias's smile widened, his eyes sparkling with hidden knowledge. "I know more than most," he replied cryptically. "I know its secrets, its history, its darkest truths." Maya's interest was piqued. "And what do you want in return for this information?" she pressed, her gaze never leaving Elias's face. Elias's smile faltered for a moment, a shadow passing over his features before he regained his composure. "I seek only the truth," he said, his voice earnest. "The truth about Hill Street, about its past and its future. And perhaps, with your help, we can uncover it together." Maya hesitated, torn between her desire for answers and her mistrust of this stranger who seemed to know more than he was letting on. But the lure of the truth was too strong to resist, and with a nod, she agreed to accompany Elias on his quest. Together, they wandered through the deserted streets of Hill Street, their footsteps echoing in the silence of the night. Elias spoke of the town's history, its legends and myths passed down through generations. He spoke of tragedies and disappearances, of whispers and shadows that haunted the town's darkest corners. As they walked, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that Elias was keeping something from her, that his motives were not as pure as he claimed. But despite her doubts, she found herself drawn to him, his charisma and charm weaving a spell that she couldn't break. Finally, they arrived at the edge of town, where Elias led Maya to a secluded spot overlooking the valley below. In the distance, she could see the faint glow of lights from the manor where her journey had begun, a silent sentinel looming against the darkness of the night. "It all started there," Elias said, his voice barely a whisper as he gazed out over the town. "The secrets of Hill Street lie within those walls, waiting to be uncovered by those brave enough to seek them out." Maya nodded, her mind racing with possibilities as she prepared to embark on the next leg of her journey. With Elias by her side, she knew that she was one step closer to uncovering the truth behind the mysteries of Hill Street. But as they ventured into the unknown, she couldn't shake the feeling that the darkest secrets of all were yet to be revealed. Chapter 6. The Sinister Past. The musty scent of old paper filled the air as Maya stepped into the dimly lit archives of Hill Street. Rows upon rows of dusty shelves stretched out before her, their contents hidden beneath layers of neglect and time. Maya's heart raced with anticipation as she approached the nearest shelf, her fingers tracing the spines of the ancient tomes that lined its surface. With a sense of determination burning in her chest, Maya began to search through the archives, her eyes scanning the titles of the dusty books and scrolls that lay before her. She was on a mission to uncover the secrets of Hill Street's past, to unravel the mysteries that had plagued the town for decades. As Maya delved deeper into the archives, she unearthed disturbing secrets buried within the pages of history. Tales of tragedy and loss leaped from the yellowed pages, painting a picture of a town haunted by its past. She learned of unsolved murders and mysterious disappearances that had plagued Hill Street for generations, their stories passed down through the ages like whispers in the wind. But it was one particular event that caught Maya's attention, a tragic incident that had occurred decades ago and remained shrouded in mystery to this day. The pages of the old newspaper clippings she found were yellowed with age, the ink faded with time. But the words they contained painted a vivid picture of the horror that had unfolded in Hill Street all those years ago. As Maya read through the accounts of the event, her heart sank with each passing moment. It was a story of betrayal and revenge, of darkness and despair that had descended upon the town like a plague. Families torn apart, lives lost, and a community left shattered in its wake. But what struck Maya the most was the lack of closure surrounding the event. Despite years of investigation and countless hours spent poring over evidence, the truth remained elusive. The perpetrators never brought to justice. It was as if the town itself had conspired to bury the secrets of that fateful night, leaving behind only whispers and shadows as a reminder of the tragedy that had befallen Hill Street. As Maya closed the last of the dusty tomes and stepped back from the shelves, she couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled in the pit of her stomach. The secrets she had uncovered only served to deepen the mystery surrounding Hill Street, leaving her with more questions than answers. But Maya was not one to be deterred by the unknown. With each new piece of information she uncovered, her resolve only grew stronger, her determination to uncover the truth behind the sinister past of Hill Street unwavering. For she knew that only by confronting the darkness head-on could she hope to bring light to the shadows that lurked within the town's troubled history. And with that thought burning in her mind, Maya set out once more into the night, her quest for answers far from over. Chapter 7. The Vanishing. The town of Hill Street lay shrouded in darkness as Maya ventured out into the night once more, her mind consumed by the mysteries that plagued the town. The disappearances of several residents had weighed heavily on her mind, their absence casting a shadow over the once quiet streets. With each passing day, the list of the missing grew longer, their fates unknown, and their loved ones left to wonder what had become of them. Maya's investigation had led her down a winding path of clues and whispers, each one leading her closer to the truth behind the vanishing residents. But as she delved deeper into the darkness that lurked within Hill Street, she began to suspect that there was more to the disappearances than met the eye. There was a connection, she was sure of it, a thread that linked the missing to the occult activities she had witnessed in the town square. With a sense of determination burning in her chest, Maya set out to uncover the truth behind the disappearances, her steps quickening as she followed the trail of clues that lay before her. She spoke to witnesses, pieced together evidence, and sifted through the rumors that swirled around the town like a thick fog. But the more Maya learned, the more questions she had. There were whispers of strange figures, seen lurking in the shadows, of eerie chants, heard echoing through the night. And with each passing day, the sense of unease that hung over Hill Street grew stronger, as if the town itself were holding its breath, waiting for the next victim to disappear into the night. As Maya continued her investigation, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, that unseen eyes followed her every move from the darkness. But she pressed on, her determination unwavering as she vowed to uncover the truth behind the vanishing residence, no matter the cost. Finally, Maya stumbled upon a breakthrough that sent a chill inside to her spirit. Buried deep within the archives, she found mention of a similar series of disappearances that had occurred decades ago, coinciding with the same occult activities she had witnessed in the town square. It was as if history were repeating itself, the past coming back to haunt Hill Street once more. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Maya knew that she was onto something big. There was a connection between the disappearances and the occult rituals she had witnessed, a dark force at work in Hill Street that threatened to consume the town in its grip. With a renewed sense of purpose, Maya set out to confront the darkness head-on, her resolve stronger than ever, as she vowed to put an end to the vanishing residence and uncover the truth behind the sinister forces that lurked within Hill Street. And as she ventured into the night, the town seemed to hold its breath, as if bracing itself for the storm that was about to descend. Chapter 8. The Descent into Madness. The night was restless, filled with whispers and shadows that danced at the edges of Maya's consciousness. Sleep eluded her, her mind consumed by the dark mysteries that haunted Hill Street. As she lay awake in her hotel room, she couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled in the pit of her stomach, as if something sinister lurked just beyond the threshold of her thoughts. With a sigh, Maya closed her eyes and tried to push the nagging sense of dread from her mind. But the harder she tried to resist, the more it seemed to consume her. Soon, she found herself slipping into a fitful sleep, her dreams filled with vivid nightmares that seemed to blur the line between reality and delusion. In her dreams, Maya wandered through the deserted streets of Hill Street, the town bathed in an eerie glow that seemed to emanate from the very air itself. Shadows danced at the edges of her vision, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes that seemed to mock her every move. With each step she took, the world around her seemed to shift and warp, as if reality itself were bending to the will of some unseen force. As Maya ventured deeper into the darkness, she began to lose herself in the labyrinth of her own mind. Hallucinations plagued her every waking moment, distorting her perception of reality until she could no longer distinguish between what was real and what was merely a product of her increasingly fractured mind. She saw faces in the shadows, familiar yet twisted beyond recognition. Voices whispered in her ear, their words dripping with malice and deceit. And with each passing moment, Maya felt herself slipping further and further into the abyss, her grip on sanity slipping away like grains of sand through her fingers. But amidst chaos and confusion, there was one constant that remained. A figure, shrouded in darkness, that seemed to lurk just beyond the edge of Maya's vision. It watched her with cold, unseeing eyes, its presence a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked within her own soul. With a cry of desperation, Maya reached out to the figure, her fingers grasping at thin air as it vanished into the darkness once more. She was alone, lost in a world of her own making, with no hope of escape. But just as Maya felt herself teetering on the brink of madness, a faint glimmer of light appeared on the horizon. It was small at first, barely more than a flicker in the darkness, but it grew stronger with each passing moment, illuminating the shadows and banishing the demons that haunted Maya's mind. With a gasp, Maya jolted awake, her heart pounding in her chest as she struggled to catch her breath. The room was bathed in the soft light of dawn, the darkness of her nightmares fading like a distant memory. And as Maya lay there, trembling and exhausted, she knew that she had faced her demons and emerged victorious, stronger and more determined than ever to uncover the truth behind the mysteries that plagued Hill Street. Chapter 9. The Hidden Chamber. The old manor loomed before Maya and Elias, its towering spires casting long shadows across the overgrown courtyard. With each step they took, the sense of anticipation grew, as if they were on the brink of uncovering something truly extraordinary. Together, they pushed open the heavy doors and stepped into the dimly lit foyer of the manor. The air was thick with dust and decay, the scent of age hanging heavy in the air. But Maya and Elias paid no heed to the oppressive atmosphere, their minds focused on the task at hand. With a sense of purpose burning in their hearts, Maya and Elias set out to explore the depths of the manor, their footsteps echoing in the empty halls. It wasn't long before they stumbled upon a hidden staircase concealed behind a tapestry, its entrance obscured from view by years of neglect. Heart pounding with excitement, Maya followed Elias down into the darkness, the light from her flashlight cutting through the gloom like a beacon in the night. As they descended deeper into the bowels of the manor, they could feel the weight of centuries pressing down upon them, as if the very walls themselves held secrets waiting to be uncovered. Finally, they emerged into a vast chamber hidden deep beneath the manor, its walls lined with ancient relics and forbidden knowledge. Maya's breath caught in her throat as she took in the sight before her, her eyes wide with wonder at the treasures that lay within. But their awe was short-lived, for as they delved deeper into the chamber, they stumbled upon something far more sinister than they could have ever imagined. At the heart of the chamber lay a dark altar, its surface carved with arcane symbols and surrounded by flickering torches that cast eerie shadows across the room. As Maya and Elias approached the altar, they could feel the malevolent energy radiating from its depths, a palpable sense of darkness that seemed to seep into their very souls. It was then that they realized the true nature of their discovery, the sinister plot that had been unfolding beneath the surface of Hill Street all along. With mounting horror, Maya and Elias uncovered evidence of a plan to unleash a malevolent force upon the town, a force that threatened to consume Hill Street in darkness and despair. The relics and artifacts they found spoke of ancient rituals and dark magic, of sacrifices and offerings made in the name of power and greed. But as they pieced together the fragments of the puzzle, Maya and Elias knew that they could not let this evil come to fruition. With every fiber of their being, they vowed to stop the dark forces that threatened to destroy everything they held dear, to protect Hill Street and its residents from the darkness that lurked within. With a sense of determination burning in their hearts, Maya and Elias set out to confront the darkness head-on, their minds clear and their resolve unwavering. For they knew that the fate of Hill Street hung in the balance, and they would stop at nothing to ensure that light prevailed over darkness, no matter the cost. Chapter 10. The Race Against Time. The clock was ticking as Maya and Elias raced through the deserted streets of Hill Street, their hearts pounding with urgency as they sought to stop the dark ritual that threatened to unleash chaos upon the town. With each passing moment, the sense of impending doom hung heavy in the air, driving them forward with a determination born of desperation. As they neared the town square, Maya's breath caught in her throat at the sight that greeted them. The hooded figures had gathered once more, their chanting rising to a fever pitch as they prepared to complete the dark ritual that would seal Hill Street's fate. With a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach, Maya knew that they had little time left to stop them. With a silent nod to Elias, Maya charged forward, her footsteps echoing in the stillness of the night as she raced towards the center of the square. The hooded figures turned to face her, their eyes gleaming with malice as they raised their hands towards the sky, their voices rising in a cacophony of dark incantations. But Maya would not be deterred. With a cry of defiance, she unleashed a barrage of light and energy, her powers flaring to life as she sought to disrupt the dark magic that surrounded the hooded figures. Elias fought at her side, his own powers bolstering hers as they battled against the forces of darkness that threatened to consume them all. The air crackled with energy as Maya and Elias fought tooth and nail to stop the ritual, their every move driven by a fierce determination to protect the town and its residents from the darkness that lurked within. But as the battle raged on, Maya could feel her strength waning, her powers faltering under the relentless assault of the dark forces arrayed against them. With a final surge of energy, Maya unleashed a burst of light that engulfed the hooded figures, their cries of pain echoing in the night as they were consumed by the brilliance of her power. The darkness receded, banished by the light of Maya's courage and determination, leaving behind only the echoes of their victory. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Maya and Elias stood victorious in the town square, their breath coming in ragged gasps as they surveyed the scene before them. The threat had been vanquished, the town saved from the brink of destruction by their unwavering resolve. But as they caught their breath and surveyed the damage wrought by the dark ritual, Maya and Elias knew that their work was far from over. For the demons that lurked within the shadows of Hill Street had been stirred from their slumber, and it would take more than just a single victory to banish them once and for all. With a silent nod to one another, Maya and Elias set out into the dawn, their minds already turning towards the battles that lay ahead. For they knew that the darkness would always be waiting, lurking just beyond the edge of sight, ready to strike when least expected. But with courage in their hearts and light in their souls, they would face whatever challenges came their way, united in their determination to protect Hill Street and its residents from the forces of darkness that threatened to consume them all. Chapter 11. The Final Confrontation. The town of Hill Street lay cloaked in darkness as Maya made her way towards the abandoned church at the edge of town. It was here, she knew, that the leader of the cult awaited, the mastermind behind the dark forces that had threatened to consume the town. With each step she took, Maya could feel the weight of the impending confrontation pressing down upon her, driving her forward with a sense of grim determination. As Maya entered the dilapidated church, she was met with the sight of the hooded figures gathered around the altar, their faces hidden in shadow as they chanted in unison, their voices rising to a crescendo that echoed through the empty halls. At the center of it all stood the leader of the cult, a figure shrouded in darkness, his eyes gleaming with malice as he surveyed Maya's approach. With a silent nod to Elias, who stood at her side, Maya stepped forward to confront the leader of the cult, her heart pounding in her chest as she prepared to do battle against the forces of darkness that threatened to consume them all. The air crackled with tension as Maya faced off against her adversary, her every instinct screaming at her to flee, to turn back and leave Hill Street to its fate. But Maya knew that she could not run from the darkness that lurked within her own soul. With a cry of defiance, she unleashed her powers, her every move fueled by a fierce determination to protect the town and its residents from the forces of evil that threatened to destroy them. The battle that followed was fierce and brutal, a desperate struggle for survival that tested Maya's strength and resolve to their very limits. With each blow she struck, Maya could feel the darkness pushing back against her, its tendrils reaching out to drag her down into the abyss. But she refused to yield, drawing upon the light within her soul to fuel her fight against the darkness that threatened to consume them all. As the battle raged on, Maya could feel her strength waning, her body battered and bruised from the relentless assault of her adversary. With each passing moment, the choice before her became clearer, the weight of it pressing down upon her like a heavy burden. Should she sacrifice herself to save the town, or flee to safety and leave Hill Street to its fate? But as Maya looked into the eyes of her adversary, she knew that there could be only one choice. With a final surge of energy, she unleashed a burst of light that engulfed the leader of the cult, banishing him back into the darkness from whence he came. With the threat vanquished, Maya collapsed to her knees, her breath coming in ragged gasps as she surveyed the scene before her. The town of Hill Street lay in ruins, its once quiet streets now a battleground scarred by the struggle between light and darkness. But amidst the destruction, there was hope, a flicker of light that refused to be extinguished, no matter how dark the shadows may grow. As Maya gazed out over the town she had fought so hard to save, she knew that her journey was far from over. The forces of darkness may have been defeated for now, but they would always be waiting, lurking just beyond the edge of sight, ready to strike when least expected. But with courage in her heart and light in her soul, Maya vowed to stand against the darkness, to protect Hill Street and its residents from the forces that threatened to consume them all. And as she rose to her feet and set out into the dawn. Chapter 12. The Redemption. As the sun rose over the town of Hill Street, casting its golden light across the landscape, Maya felt a sense of calm wash over her. The battle against the forces of darkness may have been won, but there was still much work to be done if she hoped to bring true salvation to the town and its residents. With a heavy heart and a determined spirit, Maya set out to uncover the truth behind her own connection to Hill Street and the role she must play in its redemption. She retraced her steps through the town, revisiting the places that held clues to her past and the mysteries that had drawn her here in the first place. It wasn't long before Maya stumbled upon a forgotten corner of the town, a hidden alleyway obscured from view by the overgrowth of years gone by. As she ventured deeper into the darkness, she felt a sense of familiarity wash over her, as if she had been here before, in another life perhaps. At the end of the alleyway, Maya discovered a small, nondescript building tucked away behind the crumbling facades of the surrounding buildings. With a sense of trepidation, she pushed open the door and stepped inside, her heart pounding in her chest as she prepared to confront the truths that lay hidden within. What she found inside took her breath away. The walls of the building were lined with photographs and newspaper clippings, each one chronicling the events that had shaped Hill Street's history and Maya's own connection to the town. As she studied the images before her, Maya felt a flood of memories come rushing back, fragments of her past swirling in her mind like pieces of a puzzle finally falling into place. She remembered now the dreams that had haunted her since childhood, the whispers that had echoed in her ears like distant echoes from another time. She remembered the sense of longing that had drawn her to Hill Street, the feeling that she was meant for something greater than the ordinary life she had known. But most of all, Maya remembered the darkness that had always lurked within her own soul, the fears and doubts that had held her back from embracing her true destiny. And as she stared at the images before her, she knew that the time had come to confront the darkness within herself, to embrace her true calling and find redemption in the light. With a sense of determination burning in her heart, Maya made her way back out into the streets of Hill Street, her mind clear and her spirit unbroken. She knew now what she must do to bring true salvation to the town and its residents, to face her fears and confront the darkness that threatened to consume them all. As Maya stood before the ruins of the old church, she felt a sense of peace wash over her, as if she had finally come home to herself. With a silent prayer on her lips, she stepped forward into the light, ready to embrace her destiny and find redemption in the face of the darkness that had once held her captive. And as she walked into the dawn, she knew that no matter what trials lay ahead, she would face them head-on, united in her determination to bring hope and light to the town of Hill Street once and for all. Chapter 13. The Dawn Approaches. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Maya and Elias stood amidst the ruins of Hill Street, their faces bathed in the warm glow of the rising sun. The darkness that had once shrouded the town had receded, driven back by the combined strength of their courage and determination. And as they surveyed the scene before them, They knew that a new beginning awaited the residents of Hill Street. The town lay in ruins, its once proud buildings now mere shells of their former selves, scarred by the battle that had raged through its streets. But amidst the destruction, there was hope, a flicker of light that refused to be extinguished, no matter how dark the shadows may grow. With a sense of awe and wonder, Maya and Elias watched as the townspeople emerged from their homes, their faces alight with joy and relief as they beheld the dawn of a new day. They had faced their fears and confronted the darkness that had threatened to consume them all, emerging victorious on the other side. As Maya and Elias made their way through the streets of Hill Street, they were greeted with cheers and applause from the townspeople, their gratitude overflowing as they thanked their saviors for their bravery and sacrifice. It was a moment of celebration and triumph, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. But amidst the revelry, Maya couldn't shake the feeling of sadness that lingered in her heart. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy, that rebuilding what had been lost would take time and effort. But she also knew that as long as they stood together, united in their determination to overcome the challenges that lay ahead, there was nothing they couldn't accomplish. As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting its warm rays over the town, Maya felt a sense of peace wash over her, as if the weight of the world had been lifted from her shoulders. She knew that the darkness would always be waiting, lurking just beyond the edge of sight, ready to strike when least expected. But she also knew that as long as they remained vigilant, as long as they stood together as a community, they would be able to face whatever challenges came their way. With a smile on her lips and hope in her heart, Maya turned to Elias, her companion and friend, and together they looked out over the town of Hill Street, their eyes filled with the promise of a brighter future. The dawn had come at last, signaling the beginning of a new chapter in the town's history, a chapter filled with hope and possibility. And as they stood together in the warm embrace of the morning sun, Maya knew that no matter what trials lay ahead, they would face them head-on, united in their determination to build a better tomorrow for themselves and for generations to come. Chapter 14. The Aftermath. As the sun began to set on the town of Hill Street, casting long shadows across the landscape, Maya found herself standing once more amidst the ruins that had once been her battleground. The sounds of celebration had faded into the distance, replaced now by the quiet hum of cicadas and the gentle rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. With a heavy heart, Maya reflected on her journey and the lessons she had learned along the way. She had come to Hill Street seeking answers, seeking redemption for the darkness that had always lurked within her own soul. And though the road had been long and fraught with danger, she knew that she had emerged from the shadows, a changed woman. As she wandered through the deserted streets, Maya couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the people she had met along the way, for Elias and the townspeople who had welcomed her into their lives and stood by her side in the darkest of time. They had taught her the true meaning of courage and sacrifice, showing her that even in the face of overwhelming odds, hope could still prevail. But amidst the gratitude, there was also sadness, a longing for the home she had left behind and the life she had known before she set foot in Hill Street. She knew that she could not stay, that her journey here had come to an end. And though part of her wished she could linger a while longer, to savor the warmth of the sun on her skin and the laughter of the townspeople ringing in her ears, she knew that she had to move on, to face whatever lay ahead with courage and determination. With a heavy heart, Maya made her way to the outskirts of town, where Elias awaited her beneath the shade of an ancient oak tree. They stood together in silence for a time, their hearts heavy with the weight of all they had been through, before finally Maya spoke. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely a whisper in the stillness of the evening. For everything. Elias smiled, a bittersweet expression crossing his face as he took her hand in his own. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "You've done more for this town than anyone could have ever asked for. You've brought light to the darkness, and for that, we will be forever grateful." Maya nodded, her eyes shining with unshed tears as she bid farewell to Elias and the town of Hill Street. She knew that she would always carry the memories of her time here with her, the lessons she had learned, and the friends she had made. And though the road ahead was uncertain, she knew that she would face it with courage and grace, just as she had faced the darkness that had once threatened to consume her. With a final glance back at the town she had come to love, Maya set out into the night, her heart filled with hope and determination. For though her journey in Hill Street may have come to an end, she knew that her story was far from over, and that wherever life may lead her next, she would face it with the same courage and resilience that had carried her through the darkest of times. Chapter 15. The Epilogue. Years had passed since Maya's last visit to Hill Street, but the memories of her time there remained etched in her mind like lines in a well-worn book. As she made her way back to the town that had changed her life forever, Maya couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation stirring within her. The road to Hill Street was familiar, yet unfamiliar. The landscape unchanged, yet somehow different, as if time itself had shifted in her absence. But as Maya rounded the final bend in the road and caught sight of the town in the distance, her heart skipped a beat with a rush of emotion. Hill Street lay before her, bathed in the warm glow of the afternoon sun, its streets bustling with life and activity. The once ruined buildings had been restored to their former glory, their facades gleaming in the sunlight, as if to welcome her home. With a smile on her lips, Maya made her way through the streets of Hill Street, her footsteps echoing in the quiet afternoon air. Everywhere she looked, she saw signs of the town's resurgence, from the bustling market square to the laughter of children playing in the park. As she approached the outskirts of town, Maya's heart swelled with pride at the sight of the restored manor, its spires reaching towards the sky like beacons of hope in the darkness. It had been a long and arduous journey, but the people of Hill Street had refused to be defeated, rising from the ashes of their former selves to build a brighter future for themselves and for generations to come. With a sense of reverence, Maya made her way to the town cemetery, where the memories of those who had fought and died for the town's salvation lay at rest. She placed a bouquet of wildflowers upon each grave, paying her respects to the fallen heroes who had given their lives so that others might live. As she stood amidst the silent rows of headstones, Maya felt a sense of peace wash over her, as if the spirits of the past were watching over her with a sense of quiet approval. She knew that the darkness had been banished from Hill Street, that the town was safe once more under the watchful eye of those who had fought so bravely to protect it. With a final glance back at the town that held so many memories, Maya smiled, knowing that Hill Street would always hold a special place in her heart. It was here that she had faced her fears and confronted the darkness within herself, emerging stronger and more resilient than ever before. And though her journey in Hill Street may have come to an end, she knew that the lessons she had learned and the friendships she had made would stay with her always, a reminder of the power of hope and the strength of the human spirit. With a contented sigh, Maya turned and made her way back down the road, her heart light and her spirit soaring as she set out towards the horizon, ready to face whatever adventures lay ahead with courage and grace. For though her time in Hill Street may have ended, the journey of life was far from over, and Maya knew that wherever it may lead her next, she would face it with the same determination and resilience that had carried her through the darkest of times.